Here are the solutions for the multiple choice parts for EGR 1301 Summer 2020 final exam. Okay, so the first few here were multiple choice, and some of these were easier, some of these were a little tricky, so let's go through it. All right, so the first one, we're talking about the principle of sum of currents going into the node is equal to the sum of currents going out of the node. This is Kirchhoff's current law. Okay, that one's pretty easy. The principle that for any closed loop, the sum of voltage rises is equal to the sum of voltage drops is Kirchhoff's voltage law. Okay, the next one, from the list of choices below, choose the one that is not a base dimension. All right, so remember this is an open book exam, so you could have looked that up in the appropriate chapter. You would have needed to know where it is and that it was there, and that's part of the point of studying for exams. You know what's there, all right? And so you look this up, and the one that's tricky, I think, is it seems like charge should be a base dimension, but it's actually current. That's the base dimension for flow of charge, and from that, charge is a derived unit, okay? The next one was really tricky, and in fact, I gave credit to answer A, all right? But I wanted the SI base dimensions, and Newton's is not a base dimension, okay? And so what I had in mind here is that if you think about a force is mass times distance, mass times acceleration, and so that would be kilograms meters per second squared. Okay, that's basically the F equals ma. Okay, and then you have distance, which adds a second meter to this, so meter squared. So this is the base unit for torque, this is torque broken up into base dimensions. And you see that's not on the list, so the correct answer is none of these, but I gave credit for this one because it was kind of tricky. All right. So next, let's move to Excel. You should know a little bit about Excel, especially the indexing rules for Excel. And so I'm looking at this, and I have this formula that's cut or copied and pasted into another cell. Okay, so it's stored in D6, and it's copied to F9. So I'm looking at this D, E, F, and then from 6 to 9, it'd be 6, 7, 8, 9. And so in the column setting, that starts with a letter, that's an increment of 2. And for the number, the row number, that's an increment of 3 positions. All right, so I'm looking at this. If I pasted this into F9, all right, then what would I expect to see for each component? Well, since it's $A, I'm expecting $A when I paste it into cell 9. Okay, so there's only 2 things that have the $A, and so at this point you could eliminate these 2 choices. All right, then there's not a dollar sign in front of the 3, so the 3 should get incremented. Incremented by how much? It should be incremented by 3. All right, so 3 plus 3 is 6, and so $A6, that looks correct. All right, and so now have eliminated this, and it's just between none of these and part D. So we have to completely, flesh this out the rest of the way to eliminate none of these. All right, so if I look at B, okay, add 2 increments to B. All right, so B, C, D, that's correct. Okay, 2, the 2 gets incremented by 3 because it's the row number. So 2 plus 3 is 5, that's correct. Okay, and finally, C does not have a dollar in front of it, so it's incremented by 2. So C, D, E, that's correct. And then the dollar sign indicates that you don't increment the 4. All right, so that's also correct. So we see the answer here is D. All right, next in Excel, whenever we did plot a dependent variable y-axis and an independent variable x-axis, you ended up doing a scatter chart for that. All right, so those are the multiple choice questions for the final exam 2020 summer.